Jake Martinez adjusted his dark blue uniform one last time before walking into the Grand Assembly Hall. The massive chamber stretched out before him like a steel and glass cathedral, filled with representatives from 47 different alien species. Some floated in special tanks filled with glowing liquid. Others stood on 6 legs or crawled on dozens of tiny feet. A few hung from the ceiling like bats, their wings folded around their bodies. Jake had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 3 years now. He had seen this room many times before, but today felt different. Today, everything would change. Captain Lisa Bennett watched from the observation deck above the main floor. Her ship, the Terra Nova, waited outside the station, ready to leave at a moment's notice. She had known Jake since their academy days, and she could see the tension in his shoulders as he walked to the speaking platform. The station itself was a marvel of alien engineering. It orbited the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri, a neutral, location chosen because no single species could claim it. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that the Vorthak had grown, while the environmental systems came from a dozen different worlds. Humans had contributed the computational networks that kept everything running smoothly. At the center of the chamber sat the Council's 3 most powerful members. The Zephyrian hive speaker looked like a giant praying mantis made of silver metal. Its compound eyes reflected the light from dozens of angles, and its razor-sharp mandibles clicked constantly as it processed information from the rest of its hive mind. Next to it, the Vorthak representative resembled a living crystal formation, its body pulsing with different colors that somehow conveyed meaning to other Vorthak. The third member was a nautiloid, floating in a clear tank filled with blue-green water, its tentacles moving in complex patterns. Jake reached the speaking platform and placed his hands on the podium. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems and the occasional click from the Zephyrian. 23 years ago, Jake began, his voice carried by the translation system to every corner of the chamber. Humanity received an invitation to join this council. We were told we would be welcomed as equals, as partners in building a better galaxy. The hive speaker's mandibles clicked more rapidly. Elder Zelthera, the Vorthak representative, shifted from blue to a warning shade of orange. For 23 years we have followed your rules. We have accepted your restrictions. We have allowed you to limit our technology, our expansion, our very growth as a species. Jake's voice remained calm, but Lisa could see his knuckles turning white as he gripped the podium. Dr. Helen Ross sat in the human delegation section, her tablet showing the biometric readings from every alien in the chamber. As Earth's chief xenobiologist, she had spent years studying the council species. She knew their body language, their stress responses, their tells. Right now, every single one of them was showing signs of extreme anxiety. You told us that humans were too aggressive, Jake continued, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be trusted with advanced weapons or unrestricted space travel. You said these limitations were for our own good, and for the good of the galaxy. The nautiloid in its tank began moving its tentacles in what Helen recognized as the pattern for deep concern. The Zephyrian's clicking had become so rapid it sounded like static. But we have seen how you treat other species. The Fenari, forced to mine crystals for your ships while their own people starve. The Corvani, whose entire planet was strip-mined for rare metals to build your stations. The Deltans, whose culture was declared primitive and absorbed into your collective. Elder Zelthara's crystal body flashed bright red, the Vorthak color for anger and denial. You do not limit aggression, Jake said, his voice growing stronger. You control it. You decide who can fight and who must submit. You decide who can grow and who must remain small. You decide who matters and who does not. Lisa felt her heart racing as she watched the alien representatives. Some were literally vibrating with tension. Others had gone completely still, which was often worse. The Zephyrian had stopped clicking entirely, and Helen knew that meant the entire hive mind was focused on this moment. Yesterday you delivered your final ultimatum to Earth. You demanded that we surrender our nuclear weapons, dismantle our space fleet, and accept protective oversight from Council peacekeepers. You want to place monitoring stations in our solar system and restrict our population growth. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds, clicks, Whistles, electronic tones, and vibrations filled the air. The translation system struggled to keep up with dozens of species all trying to speak at once. Jake waited for the noise to die down before continuing. You say this is for our protection, but we know the truth. Every species that has accepted your protection has lost something. Their independence, their culture, their future. Helen checked her readings again. The stress levels were off the charts. Several of the smaller species were already preparing to leave, their fight or flight responses triggered by the tension in the room. The people of Earth have made their decision, Jake said, his words cutting through the alien chatter like a blade. We formally reject the Council's demands. We withdraw from all treaties, agreements, and obligations to this body. Effective immediately, Earth is no longer a member of the Galactic Council. The silence that followed was unlike anything Lisa had ever experienced. It was as if the entire station had stopped breathing. Even the background hum of the environmental systems seemed muted. Elder Zelthara was the first to recover. The Vorthax, crystal form pulsed through a rapid sequence of colors before settling on a deep purple that Helen knew meant shock and disbelief. This is impossible. Zelthara's voice resonated through the chamber's speakers. No species has ever voluntarily left the Council. The very concept is unthinkable. The Zephyrian hive speaker's mandibles began clicking again, but slower now, more deliberate. You cannot survive without the Council's protection. Your technology is inferior. Your knowledge is limited. Your species is young and foolish. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. Perhaps, but we would rather face an uncertain future as free beings than accept certain slavery as your subjects. Lisa activated her communicator. All human personnel, prepare for immediate departure. We're going home. As Jake and the human delegation filed out of the chamber, the alien representatives sat in stunned silence. Helen was the last to leave, and she paused at the entrance to look back at the assembly. The readings on her tablet showed something she had never seen before in all her years of studying alien psychology. Pure fear. Elder Zelthara's final words followed them out of the chamber. They will return. Within one solar cycle, they will come begging for readmission. They cannot survive without us. But as the Terra Nova and its escort ships jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's representatives away from the Council forever, Lisa wondered if the Elder was right. Or if, perhaps, the Council was about to discover that they were the ones who could not survive without humanity. 6 months had passed since humanity walked out of the Galactic Council chambers, and the galaxy was beginning to feel the consequences. What had started as angry dismissal from the Council members had slowly turned into something much more unsettling: worry. Commander Ryan Blake stood on the observation deck of the orbital platform above Kepler 442b, watching the massive terraforming machine sit silent and still. The aquatic nautiloids had hired human engineers 2 years ago to transform this barren world into a water paradise for their expanding population. The project was supposed to take 5 years, but they were ahead of schedule until Earth recalled all its citizens. How long until the atmospheric processors fail? Asked Kythera, the lead nautiloid engineer. Her tentacles moved in slow, worried patterns as she floated in her mobile water suit. Ryan checked his tablet, though he already knew the answer. 3 weeks, maybe 4. The bioreactors need constant adjustment. Your people understand the theory, but the practical application... He shrugged helplessly. We sent messages to the Council, Kythera said, her voice bubbling through the water in her suit. They say they will send Vorthak engineers to replace the human systems. Ryan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Vorthak engineers work with crystals and energy fields. These machines run on biochemical processes that took human scientists 50 years to perfect. It's like asking a fish to fix a bird's wings. The truth was worse than Ryan wanted to admit. The atmospheric processors were just the beginning. The soil conversion systems, the weather control networks, the gravity adjusters that kept the planet's rotation stable. All of it was based on human technology that the Council had never bothered to understand. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Michelle Carter sat in her office reviewing reports from across human space. The news was both encouraging and terrifying. Every human colony, every research station, every trade outpost had been recalled. For the first time in over 2 decades, humanity was completely within its own borders. "The Council is looking for us," reported Admiral Carol West, her image flickering on the holographic display. "Their scout ships are checking every system where we used to operate. They're being very careful about it, but they're definitely searching." General Kevin Stone, Earth's military commander, leaned forward in his chair. "What are they looking for specifically?" "Us," Carol replied. "They want to know what we're doing, where we've gone, what we're planning. The problem is they can't find us. Our new stealth technology is working better than expected." Dr. Amanda Price, the head of Earth's Science Division, smiled from her seat across the room. "The quantum field generators are performing perfectly. As far as their sensors can tell, human space is empty. We're invisible to their detection systems." President Carter nodded slowly. The technology they had developed in secret was far beyond anything the Council possessed. While the aliens had focused on controlling and limiting human advancement, human scientists had been working on projects the Council never even knew existed. "What about the colonies that depended on us?" she asked. General Stone's expression grew serious. "It's getting bad out there. The outer rim settlements are starting to fail. Mining operations are shutting down. Transport systems are breaking down. The Council is trying to replace our people with their own, but they don't understand how our systems work." On the other side of the galaxy, the Zephyrian hive speaker Zakth was discovering this truth firsthand. His species had built their entire trade empire around human computational models and transportation algorithms. Human mathematicians had solved logistical problems that had puzzled the hive mind for centuries. Now, without those human systems, the Zephyrian trade routes were falling apart. Ships were getting lost in hyperspace. Cargo was being delivered to wrong planets. The carefully balanced flow of resources that kept 17 star systems running was grinding to a halt. "Status report," Zakth clicked to his subordinates. "Sector 7 reports a complete breakdown in the shipping schedule. Sector 12 is experiencing food shortages. Sector 15's manufacturing plants are operating at 30% capacity due to lack of raw materials." The hive speaker's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed the information. The hive mind was struggling to solve problems that human engineers had made look simple. "Contact the Council. Request immediate technical assistance." But the Council was having problems of their own. Elder Zelthara's crystal form had been pulsing with stress colors for weeks. The Vorthak had always prided themselves on their advanced technology, but they were discovering that much of their infrastructure relied on human innovations. The worst part was the silence. Every attempt to contact Earth was met with nothing. No response, no acknowledgement, no trace that humans even existed anymore. It was as if an entire species had simply vanished from the galaxy. "Have we located any human settlements?" Zelthara asked the Council's intelligence chief. "None. Our most advanced sensors show nothing in human space. Either they have all died or they have developed stealth technology far beyond our understanding." The crystal being's form shifted to a deep blue, the Vorthak color for fear. "Contact the Nautiloids. Offer them full assistance with their terraforming project." But when the Vorthak engineers arrived at Kepler 442b, they found chaos. The atmospheric processors had failed completely. The soil conversion systems were producing toxic compounds instead of fertile earth. The weather control network was creating violent storms that threatened to tear the planet apart. Commander Blake had tried to leave detailed instructions, but the alien engineers couldn't understand the complex biological processes involved. They were used to working with crystals and energy, not living systems that required constant care and adjustment. "We need the humans back," Cathara admitted to the Vorthak team leader. "Our people are already talking about abandoning the project." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. The wolf-like Fenari, enslaved by the Zephyrians for 3 centuries, watched their mining operations collapse as human-designed efficiency systems failed. The Corvani manufacturing worlds ground to a halt when their automated systems, programmed by human technicians, began producing defective products. The breaking point came when a message arrived at the council chambers. It was from Hive Speaker Zakth, And it was the first time in Zephyrian history that a hive mind had ever asked for help. The Zephyrian trade empire is failing. Our computational systems cannot handle the complexity of our logistics network. We need human assistance. Elder Zelthara's form pulsed through several colors before settling on a pale green that meant reluctant acceptance. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we wish to discuss terms for their return to the Council. The message was sent toward Earth's solar system using the most powerful transmitters the Council possessed. It carried formal recognition of humanity's value and a request for negotiations. The response came back 3 days later. It was brief and devastating in its simplicity. Message received. Earth declines to respond. For the first time in galactic history, the Council had been ignored. The most powerful alliance in the galaxy had been dismissed as unworthy of attention. As the weeks passed and more systems began to fail, one truth became clear to every species in the Council. They had not been ruling humanity for 23 years. Humanity had been holding the galaxy together, and now they were gone. 12 months after humanity's departure from the Galactic Council, the galaxy got its first glimpse of what Earth had been building in secret. The revelation came not through diplomatic channels or military displays, but through an act of mercy that would shake the foundations of galactic power. Captain Steve Johnson stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberty, watching the dying nautiloid colonies through the main view screen. The terraforming project on Kepler 442b had completely collapsed 3 months ago. Toxic storms raged across the planet's surface, and the million nautiloids living there were slowly suffocating as their artificial oceans turned poisonous. All ships. This is Liberty Command. Steve spoke into his communicator. Begin humanitarian operations immediately. The fleet that emerged from hyperspace around Kepler 442b was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 27 ships that looked nothing like the modified alien designs humans had been restricted to for decades. These vessels were sleek, powerful, and clearly built with technology that made Council standards look primitive. Commander Alex Turner piloted his ship toward the planet's surface, his crew working frantically to deploy atmospheric scrubbers that could clean the poisoned air. The technology was purely human in design, based on principles that the Council species couldn't even understand. "How is this possible?" whispered Kithara, as she watched the human ships work. The nautiloid engineer floated in her water suit aboard the Liberty, invited as an observer. "These ships, they're faster than anything the Council has. And your atmospheric processors are cleaning our air in hours, not months." Dr. Patricia Lewis, Earth's quantum research director, smiled as she monitored the cleanup operation. "We had a lot of time to think while you were trying to control us. Turns out, when you don't spend all your energy following someone else's rules, you can accomplish amazing things." The truth was even more remarkable than Kithara could imagine. While the Council had assumed humanity would stagnate without their guidance, human scientists had been developing technologies in secret for over a decade. Faster-than-light drives that didn't require the Council's monopolized crystals. Weapons, systems based on quantum mechanics that the Council species couldn't comprehend. Defensive technologies that made their surveillance systems useless. But the real shock came when Captain Johnson made an announcement that spread across every communication channel in the galaxy. The Commonwealth of Free Worlds offers assistance to any species suffering under the current galactic order. We ask for nothing in return except your freedom to choose your own path. Elder Zelthara's crystal form flashed through angry reds and confused purples as the message reached the Council chambers. Commonwealth of Free Worlds? What is this madness? The answer came from the Fenari system, where the wolf-like species had been enslaved by the Zephyrians for 3 centuries. Captain Nicole Foster arrived with a small fleet and simply began dismantling the Zephyrian occupation forces. There was no declaration of war, no formal challenge. The human ships just appeared and methodically disabled every Zephyrian vessel in the system. "By what authority do you act?" demanded the Zephyrian commander, as his ship's weapons were systematically destroyed without harming his crew. Nicole's response was broadcast across the galaxy. "By the authority of beings who refuse to watch slavery continue. The Fenari are free as of today. The Fenari themselves could hardly believe what was happening. Alpha Leader Grake had spent his entire life in chains, forced to mine crystals in the deep tunnels of his homeworld. Now he stood on the surface, breathing free air for the first time in decades. "Why do you help us?" he asked Nicole as human medical teams treated injured Fenari workers. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing you're not willing to give freely," Nicole replied. "We offer partnership, not ownership. Alliance, not domination." Word of the Fenari liberation spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species that had been oppressed by the Council for centuries suddenly realized they had an alternative. The Corvani manufacturing worlds declared independence from Vortak control. The Deltan colonies threw off Zephyrian rule. Dozens of smaller species began reaching out to this mysterious commonwealth. Back on Earth, President Carter met with her advisors to discuss the rapidly changing situation. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy as the established order began crumbling. "The Council is in full panic mode," reported General Stone. "They're calling emergency sessions daily. Some of their member species are openly questioning their leadership." Dr. Price pulled up a holographic display showing galactic trade routes. "Look at this. 3/4 of their territory is now in open rebellion or demanding autonomy. Zephyrian trade empire has lost 12 systems in the past month alone." Admiral West added her own observations. "Their military forces are spread too thin. Every time they try to put down one rebellion, 2 more start somewhere else. And they can't use their usual overwhelming force tactics because our ships keep appearing to level the playing field." The Commonwealth wasn't conquering territory in the traditional sense. Instead, they were offering something the galaxy had never seen before: a voluntary alliance of equals. Species joined not because they were forced to, but because human technology was superior. Human trade terms were fair, and human governance respected local autonomy. The Fenari became humanity's first major alien allies. Their warrior culture found kinship with human determination and independence. Grake himself became the Commonwealth's first non-human ambassador, working to convince other oppressed species to join the growing alliance. "Humans fight differently," he explained to a gathering of resistance leaders from across the galaxy. "They don't fight to conquer, they fight to free. There is honor in this." The Council's response grew increasingly desperate. Elder Zelthara proposed extreme measures during a closed session of the Inner Circle. "We must strike at Earth directly," the Vorthak Elder declared. "Cut off the head of this rebellion before it spreads further." Hive speaker Zakth's mandibles clicked nervously. "Our intelligence suggests their defensive capabilities far exceed our understanding. Any direct assault could result in catastrophic losses. Then what do you suggest?" Zelthara's form pulsed with frustrated orange. "That we simply accept the dissolution of everything we have built?" The answer came from an unexpected source. The Nautiloid representative, grateful for humanity's salvation of their colonies, had been secretly communicating with the Commonwealth. "Perhaps," the aquatic being suggested, "we should consider that what we built was wrong from the beginning." The chamber fell silent. Never before had a council member questioned the fundamental structure of their civilization. Meanwhile, Captain Johnson received new orders from Earth. The Commonwealth was preparing for the next phase of their plan. They had saved the dying, freed the enslaved, and offered hope to the oppressed. Now came the real test. Could they build something better to replace what they were tearing down? "All Commonwealth forces, prepare for Operation New Dawn," Johnson announced to his fleet. "We're going to show the galaxy what real cooperation looks like." As human ships began appearing in systems across the galaxy, carrying not weapons of war but tools of construction, Elder Zelthara realized the horrible truth. Humanity wasn't trying to rejoin the Council or even destroy it. They were making it irrelevant, one liberated world at a time. 2 years after Earth's dramatic departure from the Galactic Council, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely reversed. What had once been the undisputed authority over thousands of worlds now controlled barely a tenth of their former territory. Admiral Daniel Clark stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the constant stream of alien ships requesting permission to enter human space. Every day brought new delegations, new species seeking alliance with the Commonwealth. The same aliens who had once looked down on humanity as dangerous primitives now waited in line for hours just to speak with human representatives. "How many, today?" asked Director Laura Mitchell, Earth's coordinator for interstellar relations. She carried a tablet displaying requests from 43 different species, all asking for various forms of assistance or alliance. 78 ships, Daniel replied, including 3 former council members. The Corvani Manufacturing Guilds want to join the Commonwealth officially. The Deltan Cultural Preservation Society is asking for protection from Zephyrian revenge raids. And get this, Elder Zelthara herself has requested a private meeting with President Carter. Laura shook her head in amazement. 2 years ago, Zelthara had dismissed humanity as too primitive to deserve respect. Now the powerful Vorthak Elder was begging for an audience. President Carter reviewed the situation reports in her office deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Commonwealth had grown beyond anyone's wildest expectations. What had started as a humanitarian mission to save the Nautiloid colonies had become a galactic movement. 57 species had joined the Commonwealth voluntarily, another 100, and 12 had signed trade agreements or mutual defense pacts. "The Council is fragmenting," reported General Stone from his secure communication station. "The Zephyrian Hive is facing open rebellion on 6 worlds. The Vorthak Empire has lost control of their outer territories. Even their core worlds are questioning the old leadership." Dr. Price added her analysis from the Science Division. "Our intelligence suggests that several Council species are preparing to abandon the Alliance entirely. They're realizing that staying loyal to the Council means economic and technological isolation. The breaking point had come 6 months earlier, when the Fenari warrior clans had launched their final assault on the remaining Zephyrian strongholds. With human technology and tactical support, the wolf-like species had completely reversed 3 centuries of enslavement in less than a year. Alpha Leader Grake now served as the Commonwealth's military advisor, his fierce loyalty to humanity inspiring other species to trust the strange aliens from Earth. "Humans keep their promises," he told every species considering alliance. "They said they would free us, and they did. They said they would treat us as equals, and they do. But the real transformation was happening on worlds across the galaxy. The Commonwealth didn't just liberate oppressed species. They helped them rebuild. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists to create technologies that combined the best of multiple civilizations. Human teachers shared knowledge freely, asking only that their students use it wisely. Human doctors treated anyone who needed healing, regardless of species or political affiliation. Captain Brian Murphy received new orders as he prepared to lead the Commonwealth's first official diplomatic mission to the Council's remaining core worlds. His destination was Proxima Station, the same place where Jake Martinez had delivered humanity's Declaration of Independence 2 years earlier. "Remember," President Carter told him during their final briefing, "we're not there to gloat or demand surrender. We're there to offer them the same choice we've given everyone else. Join us as equals or continue on their current path alone." The mission to Proxima Station would later be remembered as one of the most important diplomatic events in galactic history. Murphy arrived with a small escort of Commonwealth ships, including vessels from 12 different species all flying under the new Commonwealth flag. Elder Zelthara met them in the same chamber where humanity had been lectured about being too dangerous for civilized society. The crystal being's form was dim and pale, showing the exhaustion and stress of watching her empire crumble around her. "You have won," she admitted without preamble. "The Council's authority is broken. Our member species abandon us daily. Our trade networks have collapsed. Our military forces are scattered and demoralized." Murphy's response surprised her. "We didn't come here to accept your surrender. We came to offer you a choice." "What choice do we have?" "You have destroyed everything we built." "No," Murphy said gently. "You destroyed it yourselves the moment you decided that some species deserved freedom, while others deserved chains. We just offered an alternative." The offer he presented was simple but revolutionary. the Commonwealth of Free Worlds extended an invitation to all remaining Council species to join as equal members. No tribute payments, no forced cultural changes, no surrender of sovereignty, just voluntary cooperation between equals. The response was not immediate. The proud species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia struggled with the idea of becoming equals with those they had once dominated. But as weeks passed and their isolation became more complete, one by one they began to accept. The nautiloids were the first Council species to officially join the Commonwealth, grateful for humanity's salvation of their colonies. Their aquatic cities became centers of learning where human and alien scientists worked together on projects that neither could accomplish alone. The Corvani manufacturing worlds brought their industrial expertise to the Commonwealth, their factories now producing goods for trade rather than tribute. The Deltan cultural preservationists found that the Commonwealth actually protected their traditions better than the Council ever had. Even some Zephyrian colonies began breaking away from the failing hive mind, seeking individual membership in the Commonwealth. It was the first time in their species' history that individual Zephyrians had chosen their own path, rather than following the collective will. The final moment came when former Hive speaker Zakth arrived at Earth aboard a damaged refugee ship. The Zephyrian collective had finally collapsed completely, torn apart by internal conflicts and external rebellions. Zakth, once one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, now sought asylum in the nation he had once dismissed as irrelevant. Jake Martinez, now serving as Commonwealth Secretary General, received the fallen leader in the same office where Earth's leaders had once planned their dramatic exit from the Council. The irony was not lost on either of them. "I was wrong about your species," Zakth admitted, his mechanical voice filled with something that sounded like shame. "We all were. We thought controlling you made us strong. We never realized that you were the source of our strength all along." Jake's response would be quoted in history books for centuries. "We told you we were leaving your organization, not your universe. The door was always open for you to join us as equals." The transformation was complete when President Carter addressed the first Commonwealth Assembly, held on a space station built cooperatively by 23 different species. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered not as rulers and subjects but as partners in building something unprecedented, a truly free galactic civilization. "They thought Earth leaving would create chaos," she said to the assembled delegates. "Instead, it created freedom. They thought humanity was too dangerous to trust with power. They never imagined we were dangerous enough to give power away." The Bibe, old Galactic Council, was officially dissolved that day, replaced by a Commonwealth where no single species dominated, and every voice could be heard. The age of Galactic Empire had ended, replaced by an era of cooperation that would last for millennia.